directors, and of course, the registrar, deputy vice chancellors, and eventually the university chancellor. They represent the heartbeats of the university regarding the primary purpose of the institution. Respect to knowledge production, knowledge creation, and knowledge sharing. All the faculties are represented: management and social sciences, computing and applied sciences, College of Medicine, environmental design, engineering, and of course, law. Yep, the first set of procession, where we are still standing, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The mace bearer is now leading the hierarchy of the university. And we have the bursar there. We have the special advisor to the chancellor on finance. We have the deputy vice chancellor administration. And of course, we have a special guest, erstwhile registrar of this university, Dr. Mani Ibrahim. And of course, the lecturer today, the one that has brought us all here today, Professor Peter Ogedebe. And right behind him is the University Vice Chancellor, Professor Kathleen Okafor. In red gown is the University Registrar, Professor Jamila Shuara. Ladies and gentlemen, we may now resume our seats. Okay, I beg your pardon. Before we resume our seats, permit me to bring to the microphone the university soloist, Dr. Tope Ojeme, to lead us in the national anthem and the base anthem. Tope Ojeme, please.
We remain standing for the national anthem. Compatriots, Nigeria's call obey to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. The University Anthem. Bayes University, right in the city of unity. Raise your banner with pride and dignity over the hills, the land and sea. Driven by excellence, hard work and diligence, and our reach is high up in the sky. Shine on, Bayes University, ever shining as the morning sun, marching on to glory. Learn to lead and learn to lead. Shine on, shine on. Bayes University.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ogedebe, PhD of the Department of Mass Communication, University of St. Louis, for that excellent rendition. We need us to be quiet as we resume our seats, please, ladies and gentlemen. University Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellors, University Registrar and Convener of Congregation. Our special guest today, Dr. Mani Ibrahim of Cosmopolitan University, Principal Officers, Deans and Directors, a parcel of professors, College of Heads of Departments, Heads of Units, academic and non-academic staff, our invited guests, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my singular honor to welcome one and all to the second inaugural lecture of this university. As you may already know, an inaugural lecture is usually delivered by a professor distinguished in a discipline and effectively impactful in expanding the frontiers of understanding in his or her chosen field. It is a high point of a career, a pinnacle in the process of knowledge creation, and an opportunity for professorial celebration and for future projections. Professor Peter Ogedebe, a distinguished professor of computer science, university administrator, mentor, counselor, and motivator, is today going to have his own day in the sun. He will shortly be mounting the podium. But before then, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite to the microphone the University Vice Chancellor, Professor Kathleen Okafor, to deliver her opening remarks. Vice Chancellor, ma'am. A round of applause for her, please.
The DVCs, the registrar of this august institution, our guests, the inaugural lecturer, ladies and gentlemen. I begin to be very used to being asked to make a statement, whether I know that I'll make a statement or not. But it's a very epoch-making event that we should all be very proud of. Professor Ogedebe is going to deliver a lecture on software development to own the life cycle. He will start by adumbrating on the importance and essence of inaugural lectures. I understand that the main objective is to publicize, validate, and also let people know and test what his research findings are. It's a real time for a professor to show that he has made a noble, innovative contribution to jurisprudence. So today, I ask all of you to listen carefully. There's a lot to learn. Somebody will do a vote of thanks. But for Bayes University, you will see that we are moving on, shining and shining and shining. So at this point, we allow the inaugural lecturer to talk to you, not to Okafor for talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma. And on this note, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite the man for whom we are all gathered to please step forward and listen to his record of achievements in many decades. Citation of Professor Peter Ogedebe, the second inaugural lecturer, Bayes University, Abuja. Professor Peter Ogedebe was born on October 27th, 1957. He has an extensive academic background, having attended several prestigious institutions, including Kaduna Polytechnic, Teesside University in the United Kingdom, the University of Newcastle upon Tyne, the University of Sunderland in the United Kingdom as well, and the University of Maiduguri. In addition, he was at the Business University of Costa Rica. His qualifications include an advanced diploma in personnel management, a BA in business computing, a diploma in computing, an MSc in computer-based information systems, a postgraduate diploma in education, and a PhD in information and communications technology. Professor Ogedebe began his career in the University of Maiduguri, where he served as the head of management information systems and later as the director of the computer center. He then moved to Bingham University, where he was appointed a senior lecturer and became the pioneer head of the Department of Computer Science. In addition, he chaired the ICT committee and was instrumental in establishing the School of Basic Studies in Bingham University. Professor Ogedebe joined Bayes University in January 2014 as an associate professor. Notably, his MSc degree work, which included the development of an excellent software program, earned him a position as a database advisor at the University of Sunderland in the United Kingdom. With over 30 years' experience as an IT practitioner, Professor Ogedebe has been dedicated to the training and development of individuals in ICT-related programs, serving both the young and the old. He has also worked as an IT consultant for various private and government establishments, contributing his expertise to numerous projects and initiatives. He's a distinguished academic with over 40 publications in high-impact journals across the world. His extensive services include roles as a member and chairman of numerous national universities commission NUC accreditation panels. Additionally, he has externally assessed academic staff for professorial positions across federal, state, and private universities, and has also served as an external examiner for undergraduate and postgraduate programs in computing. Professor Ogedebe secured a 25 million naira grant in 2003 from the TED Fund to establish a world-class computer center at the University of Maiduguri. The former executive secretary of the National Universities Commission, Professor Peter Okebukola, was so impressed with the facilities during his visit in 2004 that he awarded an additional 3 million naira for procuring more computers. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, these achievements led to Professor Ogedebe's invitation to showcase the center's success to other federal and state universities, highlighting its self-sustainability through internally generated funds. Professor Ogedebe's contributions to Bingham University are equally noteworthy. He was twice elected to the Governing Council, representing the congregation and the Senate. In 2009, he won a grant for supplying laptop computers to the university, earning him commendation from the Board of Trustees for his outstanding performance and his sense of ethics. A highly esteemed administrator, teacher, networker, instructor, motivator, counselor, man of God. Professor Ogedebe is known for his motivational skills, teamwork, and invaluable contribution to every organization he has been a part of. He is an esteemed member of several professional computing bodies, both in Nigeria and globally. Rising to the rank of Professor of Computer Science in July 2017, he has also served as acting dean of the Faculty of Computing from 2015 to 2016, and as the substantive dean from October 2016 to 2018, and again from January 2023 to the present, I beg your pardon. Professor Ogedebe is happily married to Mrs. Grace Peter, and they are blessed with 4 children, and I'm sure some of them are here today. Vice Chancellor Ma, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular pleasure and privilege to present to you Professor Peter Ogedebe, a second professorial inaugural lecturer, to deliver his lecture. Professor Peter Ogedebe, sir.
Thank you so much. Actually, I want to thank God for the wonderful opportunity that I've been given to give this inaugural lecture today. And let me take opportunity of thanking you all for coming to honor me and indeed the university community, and for all those who have worked behind the scene to ensure that this is very successful. Thank you so much, and God bless you. I'll be taking us through the items that will be discussed today. There will be an introduction, and then the rationale for this topic, then causes of software crisis, then what is computer software development, and then who are the users of the system, and then why do we involve users in the development of any software. Then I'll also be giving my own personal experience on the field, because as you all know, I'm happy to let us know that I've worked both as a technical person and as an academician. So I'll be showcasing some of this experience in the course of this lecture. And I want the audience to know that if you want to read computer science, the best place to come to is Base University. I will be talking about it also. And who actually owns the software lifecycle? Then, of course, there will be a recommendation at the end of the day. Then, of course, I will be dedicating this lecture to an illustrious son of the country, and as time goes on, we'll see. The Chancellor and Chairman Board of Trustees of Base University, Senator Dati Baba Ahmed, the Acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Catherine Okafor, SAN, DVC Admin, Dr. Atiku Saleh Dambata, the DVC ITRI, Dr. Islam Kanya, the Registrar, Associate Professor Jamila Shuara, the University Librarian, Dr. James Daniel, the Acting Bossa, Mrs. Juliet Bature, Deans of the faculties, directors, and special advisors present today, members of Senate, and our dear friend, Dr. Mani, who is here today. Distinguished pioneer inaugural lecture and chairman of inaugural committee, Professor Bala Mohammed. The distinguished colleagues, academic and non-academic staff, students of this great institution, Dear distinguished guests, my dear family members, my wife is here today. Gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely very grateful to the acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Catherine Okafor, SAN, for giving me the opportunity to deliver the second inaugural lecture of Base University Abuja. The journey to my professorial seat started in 2015-2016 academic session when I submitted my paper for assessment into the rank. The submission was promptly processed and concluded by January 2018, and the effective date was backdated to July 2017. I sincerely commend the acting Vice Chancellor and the management of Base University for upholding due diligence in all the processes that led to the completion of this exercise. And I wish to also thank the present and former members of Board of Trustees for the role they played. Madam Vice Chancellor, an inaugural lecture is an academic requirement that allows newly appointed professors in the university the opportunity to present an illuminating summary of their contributions to knowledge in their fields. This inaugural lecture provides a golden opportunity to share my academic and professional achievements with this distinguished audience, as well as articulate in an unambiguous and non-technical roadmap for the future. By implication, this inaugural lecture will spur me to produce more research that will break new frontiers of knowledge and promote academic excellence. I also join other well-wishers to congratulate my brother, friend, and colleague, Professor Bala Mohammed, who delivered the first inaugural lecture. The title of this second inaugural lecture, as we have been told, is Software Development, Who Owns the Life Cycle? And from this topic, I'm sure some people will have been thinking already, who should this be? But I will leave that to the audience to answer the question. I know the booklet has been given to you already to answer the question at the end of the day. But so I must quickly add that it was not easy deciding on this topic, as so many topical issues have arisen from the application of software to our daily lives. I need to state that like 40 buildings that collapse and lead to death, 40 software become unsafe and may cause bodily harm or even lead to casualties. There are relationships between building and software development as shown in figure 1 and 2. Well, what I'm trying to tell us is that the first inaugural lecture, what he has given, I mean, there's collaboration between the two, there's a link between the two lectures. So, and because there's no way you can build, when you build in the software world also, we also follow some processes in building. Because if you don't, that house is likely to collapse, and then it will not stand the test of time. And that is why you see people often complaining about software. But software, when you build software, it's supposed to stand. It should be static. It should be efficient. In fact, people need not complain because it is what you give to the computer that you expect in return. So like in a building, you have feasibility studies, you process land, you do architectural drawing, which of course, when you do your building plan, you need to show it to the client. You don't just do your building plan and then go ahead and build. Of course, since the person that is the client is the one to fund the project, it is important that it's carried along. Show him the drawing and he gives you the approval before you proceed. But if you proceed by building, or if you use your own money, at the end of the day, it's going to be a loss on your part. And then once that is done, you take it for approval. Then you prepare building plans, you engage site and structural engineers, you do the construction, and of course, you need to maintain. So in software also, we do feasibility study. You gather requirements, you design, you code, you test, you implement, and then you also maintain. And then also, you need to have documentation in place. So even though we have not seen documentation, but documentation is a very key part of the software process. Then what is the rationale for this? You will discover that we need to know where we are coming from so that we can move forward. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, there was what was known then as software crisis. And it was a term used that it was difficult for people to write program, useful and efficient. And then in a layman's way, it's just the software crisis was due to using the same workforce, the same method, the same tool, despite the increase in software complexities, demand, and challenges. So the software developer or the people developing applications then thought that there's too much problem, and that a group of people came together to organize conferences, and that gave back to the field of software engineering. And then what are the causes of this? We've mentioned some of them. You see, when you discover that the software crisis at that time included the following: cost of owning and maintaining software was very expensive, even as expensive as if you are to develop a new one. Then software were very inefficient and of low quality. Then software often did not meet standard requirements. Then average software project often overshoots its time, and no project management is in place. And then the software orders, some will just collect the contract, collect the money, and they are never delivered. So then there are three software crises that one can. There was the first one, this 2.0, and then 3.0. But the first software crisis, which is referred to as the first one, refers to the application of same techniques used to build small software systems to the development of larger and more complex systems. Due to the increasing software complexity, many problems arose because of existing problems were insufficient to solve similarly practical problems, as shown in figure 3 here. Then this is software crisis 2.0. This one, as shown in the figure 4, was reported by Gerard in his elaborate and comprehensive studies in 2018. He reported that software crisis 2.2 bottleneck arose from the inability to produce the volume of software necessary to leverage the absolute staggering increase in the volume of data being generated. Then comes the software crisis 3.0. My research and my professional background, and from what I've seen being done in the software industry, makes me to believe that indeed we've not overcome the problem, especially in Nigeria, the problem of the software crisis that we mentioned, 1.0. So which means in Nigeria, we are back to 1960s, 1970s, and whatever. So this has told me that although maybe more research will need to be done to know whether or not we are there, but you agree with me that most of the problems that are there, you have little or no documentation to enhance efficient software usage. Many people these days just collect the software built by users, by developers, and no documentation. And when the person leaves, then you will be at a loss. So I've been emphasizing this to my students in base and other places, that documentation is very key. And many of the students, sometimes they build applications without thinking of developing documentation. And there's some of the lessons we'll learn here today is for some of us who have offices, departments, and all these things to insist on getting documentation on software. If not, the software developers can hold you to the jugular. So it is important. Then absence of user involvement. What many of them do is they develop software. Once you tell them what you want, say for example, a payroll system, they just go ahead and start developing the application without involving you, the users of this application. And then oftentimes people write codes without understanding the user specifications. In fact, that's what many people do. Even programmers and all these things, experienced one. Once they understand, you tell them payroll. As soon as they hear this, they go on their PC and then they start coding. It's wrong. And that is why that software crisis we mentioned, 1.0 and 2.0, is here with us. And then oftentimes, there are several design methodologies which I'll be showing us in the course of this thing. Many don't even know about these software development methods. We don't have any in Nigeria. All the ones we have are borrowed. But I think there will be a recommendation at the end of the day that we need to have an indigenous, made in Nigeria software development method. So, and like we mentioned, the software crisis, of course, it will require you to spend more money. Your budget, of course, when you spend your money building the software that doesn't work, you keep on maintaining it all the time, and it shouldn't be so. And then sometimes property may damage or even threat to life. Most of these aircraft that people fly, if you see accidents in this thing, it's because of failed software. They are being programmed by the software that is built. So that is why we need to. And then sometimes this defect may even lead to death, defect, and other things that people may come across. And then what is software, computer software? There are many definitions given by several authors, like Rogers in 2010, and then Somerville in 2015. And I, as a scholar, simply will define a software as a set of instructions that could be in tens, in thousands, in millions, in trillions, and using one or more methodologies, and in any programming language of your choice to meet specifications of the client and the software developer for general purposes. So then, what are the attributes of a good software? The software must be efficient. If a software is not efficient, just assume that it is a bad one. That software should be, people should be able to maintain it very easily. And then that software should be acceptable. And then it should be dependable. And then it should be secured. Because if it is not secure, like the ATM people use now, is because it is secured. That is why people you put your money in the bank and then you expect that your money will not get lost because you have faith in the banking software. So software development, this is the process of dividing software production into distinct phases to improve the design, product management, and project management. So it means you have to design, you have to analyze, and then you need to have good management, like project management skill. If not, you will be running at a loss. And this is known as software development life cycle. So there are about 10 known types of software development that one can do. There's the traditional one, there's the web development, there's data science, back-end development, software tools development, application programming interface, then embedded system development, security software, cloud computing, and mobile development. So, and if you notice, software is very lucrative. Software engineers are being looked for everywhere. In fact, in America, it is easier for you to get a job as a software developer, and then they are better paid. I remember when I was in UK, I was to be kept behind, but I said no. I needed to go back to Nigeria because they are in high demand. Even now, people still go. That is why any organization you go to now, you have many of them. So, and many of these software developers are falling victim of software crashes or defects, long delivery time, and what have you. So a software development method, like we said, is a collection of policies, processes, and procedures used in the promotion of best practices in software engineering. A methodology, therefore, means a philosophy incorporating sets of rules and recommendations covering structures, techniques, and documentation, which is also known as software lifecycle. In view of the popularity and importance of ICT in every sphere of life, the development of software has become a very big business. There is no institution, in fact, even if you're a medical doctor, you need computer. If you are an accountant, you need it. And everybody needs computer system. And that is why we will be hearing later why we need to send our products to base university where they will be trained, and you'll be happy to have your word as a computer scientist or software engineer or information system expert. So only a few software developers are trained in software engineering and understand how to use software development methodologies. So we are trying our best to tell the students all these methods. Then the essence of system development process includes ensuring that high quality systems are delivered, providing strong management controls over the projects, and maximizing the productivity of the development team. So developers have background. In fact, in the past, most early computer scientists, professors, they were from engineering, mathematics, statistics, and not many of them were trained as programmers. So an alarming situation is in software engineering where everyone from different backgrounds becomes a developer because of their ability to write programs. Many people, because they can write programs, they call themselves software developer. It is not so. So the resultant effect is faulty software development, poor costing process, and above all, non-functional and poor performing software that are abound in the market. There are so many of them in the market. So the use of software development methods cannot be ignored in any software project. This is demonstrated by Steve in 2010 by summarizing the role of software developer team, which includes background in algorithm, mathematics, computer science, ability to understand requirements, design simple solutions, write quality codes, etc., etc. From this representation here, we will see that in figure 7, there are two categories of software developers. Those who use the models and others that don't even use the model, because some don't even know why it is necessary to even use a method. They just believe that sit on the PC, write the code. Once you see it doing what you want, then you deploy it, and then off you go. There are hundreds and thousands of software development methodologies available in the world. There are so many of them. In Nigeria, we don't have any method, but in Britain, you have SSADM, Structured System Analysis and Design Method. That's the method that is being used in Britain. In France, they use MERIS. In the Euro, they use Euro method. And in Nigeria, we don't have any. And most of the work we've done, we realize that truly we don't have any method, but rather we tend to borrow from the methods. So then, what are the objectives of methods? Why do you think you need that method? So you want to record requirements accurately using case studies, because these are tools that we use: the activity diagrams, data flow diagrams, entity relationship diagram, data dictionary, and so on and so forth. And the truth of the matter is that, most people will tell you that a picture is worth 1,000 words. By the time you draw some of these diagrams, any single person can explain it, can understand what you are trying to portray, rather than writing grammar, which can be misinterpreted. But you can just draw some of these diagrams. We mentioned the data flow diagram, activity diagram, to showcase entity life history, because in any software development, there's a life of any software. When you give back to a software, the life of that software, and when the software will no longer be applicable, and you have to discard it and then rebuild. So you don't use a software endlessly. There may be need for you to evaluate and reassess what you are using. And then the essence of that also is to provide users with well-documented and easy to maintain system. Oftentimes, like we mentioned, most systems don't have documentation. When the person leaves and other people come, they won't be able to understand what has been done, because there's no proper documentation to aid the people that will be coming later. So those tools are key. And then it provides an effective means of you to monitor and ensure that the system is delivered on time. So if there's no proper method in place, you discover that this software will be delivered, and there'll be complaining everywhere. People, in fact, they will lose interest. And then the people who you build the software for will tell you that, please come and take your software and go away. And I'm sure you won't be happy. So there are 3 different types of software development methods that are applicable in the world now. There's the object-oriented method that is often being used in America. Then you have the structured, which the British uses in developing. Then you have the other life cycle, which is like general. So I'll be using this one as a typical example of the various methods, because the waterfall model is the oldest method that was developed. And I can assure you that this method works perfectly well. Even though initially we were told that the first waterfall model that was developed was such that it's sequential, that once you finish the requirements, you proceed to analysis, you do design, you do implementation, you do maintenance, you do documentation. And then the argument then was that there's no way for you to go back to, in case there's mistake. So that is why this arrow that goes back, so there's a loop. So it means you can go back and sort things out. So the requirement gathering, what you do then is to sit down with the users, understand what they really want. That's the first step. You interview them. Maybe sometimes you issue questionnaire, whatever. The important thing is to set your objective there, discuss with them, ensure that they understand, you understand them well. Because if you don't understand, you will have failed here. It means the foundation, you have failed even at from the word go. Then later you analyze whatever you have collected using some of these tools that we mentioned, the waterfall model and all this. Because these are tools that are available. Then you design. Then before you implement. And what many people do these days, without following these steps, once they understand the specification to them, they jump to step 4, which is implementation, without doing the gathering, requirement gathering, no analysis, no design. It's like you want to build. That's why I said there's correlation between what I'm saying and the builders. You want to build a house and you did not involve the system, the architect, to design your building. And then you just proceed and start building. So at the end of the day, this building is not going to stand the test of time. It's going to collapse. That is obvious. So, and that is what many students and practitioners do these days. They go to step 4 without doing step 1, step 2, step 3. And at the end of the day, they do code and fix. You do trial by error, just fix. The person tells you there's this problem, you go fix it, and they wait for another day for another problem to come. No, it is wrong. There are ways. I don't want us to go back to the software crisis of 1960, 1970, or 1980. Then you have maintenance. Of course, you have to maintain, just like you maintain building, you have to maintain your software also. And even though you notice that the documentation is the last step here, but that does not mean you wait until the last step before you document. Every stage of the software lifecycle of the steps are documented and kept. You document them, like the requirements gathering. All those interviews you did with the client, you keep them. Those are your output. The analysis, all these use case diagrams, data flow diagram, entity relationship diagram, and then the other things you have done, you need to keep them. Then in the design, you have the system architecture and then storyboard. You need to keep them also. Those are documentations. And of course, like I said, you now implement at stage 4. So by the time you analyze, you design, then you start coding. So it is wrong for you to start coding without going through these steps. So, and when you come to step 4, when you need to write your code, you write the code, and of course, you comment and document your codes now, which I said is in tens, in thousands, or in millions. You write them and you document them so that whoever is coming tomorrow to your organization will have something to rely on. That documentation is key. If not, and then of course maintenance, you need to, just like a house, you need to maintain. So these are some of the other methods that they are there in your book, Extreme Programming Method. Then you have the spiral model. You have the software, you have the business. Then you have the soft system methodology. And then you have the rapid method. So all these ones, you can pick any of them. You can pick any of these methods that you are comfortable with. Not necessarily, then you have the V model. Then, of course, you have the throwaway prototyping. Prototyping means, like many developers use prototyping really. You use it as part of the program that you may develop. At the essence of prototyping is you develop, you show it to the user, and then later, by the time they understand, in fact, this prototyping provides you an avenue for training purposes, really. It's a very good avenue for you to train users. And then you have the dynamic system development method. So some of the methods I mentioned to you earlier, we have actually used it and then they've been published as part of our publication. Like, for example, you see, this is a use case diagram, for example, of an administrator, maybe the dean of a faculty, for example. So you discover that you need to create for new user, you modify existing user, you view examination question, you create some of these things. For example, these are some of the things that you will do just to checkmate that these are things you need to put in place. And then you have this also. It's still another use case, which you draw to show the user. And then this one is the entity relationship diagram. Here, you establish the relationship between the various entities. You establish relationship between various entities. And this is what you translate into your database at the end of the day. When you are creating it, you translate this into that data, into your database. And like I always say, people will talk about normalization of databases and what have you. Sometimes, if you get it right, if you do your entity relationship diagram very well, and you draw your data flow diagram very well, at the end of the day, the two will balance. And then you don't need to do the academic exercise of doing the first, second, third or fourth normal form. You go straight and you get it well, and then your system will be okay. Then, who are the users of a system? Who are the users? People will always say user, 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 but users in the IT world means the direct users and then the indirect users of a system. The direct users are those who interact with the system day in, day out, and they have access to the input of the system, like they are standing before the PC, they have access to the system, and they receive output from the system. Those are direct users. But indirect users are those who receive output alone from the system. Like when you receive result, students receiving their result, those are indirect users. So then, why do we involve users in development of a software? Most users are regarded as sophisticated. In fact, some will say they don't even know anything. But I can assure you that users are very sophisticated and they know what they want. They know what they want. So nobody should take users for granted. And then most of them use technology to support their work at their offices. Then it is very logical that if the system developer wants to understand the current system, the best way is to communicate with end users of the system. That is both direct and indirect users. The users are experts in their own work. Like, for example, if I'm a lecturer, for example, and you want to build an application for me, I'm an expert because I'm the one to use that application. So I should be carried along in the development of that software. And then somebody sitting in the office should be able to say, for example, somebody in exams and record should be carried along also in the development of that application. Then it embodies the view of users, not system experts, analysts or programmers, as the case may be. Furthermore, user involvement allows system developers to know and understand the user's telecom, so the system developer can communicate using the same language. At the end of the day, they will be on the same page. User involvement can offer the most reliable ways to organize features into menus, dialog boxes based on user data. So we've done so many research about why you need to involve user, especially when you use the prototyping. And if you, because if you want your software to work, you need to use prototyping approach. If not, from the literature, it has been discovered that many who fail to use prototyping approach, that is using the users, involving users and all these things, develop software that failed. That is what has been concluded in the literature, and then there are so many other papers that we have developed. And then the other thing that will interest us most, the repercussion of not involving users in the application is the recent IPPS wahala with public schools. You discover the intention of government is superb, but unfortunately, you want to eliminate corruption, but unfortunately, you have centralized corruption. You've eliminated it at all the various universities where the bosses, the authorities there award contract and do things, and then pay salary. But now you localize it, so everybody comes to Abuja now, and then to bribe officials. And the unfortunate thing is that, from my experience, I discovered that when you are building application, there was one time we were developing the application in Maiduguri, the entire bursary system. And we discovered that all the accountants, they were given PCs on their table with the software well developed. But they refused to use it. The only group that were using it are the people in the payroll, because there's money there. Yeah, because you can do some obvious things. So this IPPS of 18 actually has failed. Rather than eliminating corruption, it has not, because users were not carried along What they did was to gather a group of people in Abuja, NUC office there, and show them the software and said, okay, we are, in fact, we are starting to use IPPS to eliminate corruption, redundancies, and what have you. So actually, nothing, it never, I don't think it's worked. Now they are trying to change it again. But I can assure you that already ASU is already kicking against the new method of paying. Of course, the unfortunate thing is that the ASU don't have this because your own is to collect your salary, provided it is correct. Whichever means they want to use to pay doesn't really matter. So my personal experience on the field, like in the course of my MSc program, which I was sponsored by University of Maiduguri to do, on completion of because what they do in Britain is when you do, whether first degree, master's or PhD, you must develop application for a client. It's client-based. But I tried it here, but I've not succeeded because there are not many industries where we can post this student. But those are some of the things. So, and at the end of the day, because the software was very, very good, I was given contract, and they were paying me £800 per month. Then I did the work for, the contract was for 4 months, but another group came and said, we've seen this good job you are doing. Please do it for our own department also. The contract was extended to another 3 months. Then later I said, no, I think I need to go back because I have my family back in Nigeria. I need to go back. Even though they begged me to stay, I said, no, let me go back to my sponsor so that at least I can contribute my own quota. So I came back to the University of Maiduguri, and the first assignment given to me was to set up the MIS unit under the Vice Chancellor's office then. And we succeeded in doing the students, we automate. In fact, that time, computer was not, in fact, many people are not even computer literate. They don't even know only typewriter then. We are given the task of training all the staff of the university. You can imagine over 3,000 people to become computer literate. We did it. I had to get people, I trained them, and then they also helped me in training others. That was the strategy we employed. And then at the MIS also, the student record, we automated it then. We did. And later, maybe after completing, even the ID card also, we automated the task of producing student ID card also for the first time. And even the student number, the numbering system, we generated it in such a way that when you see a student from the ID, you know which department, which faculty, the year the student is admitted, the faculty it belongs to, the department it belongs to, and then its number. So every year, if you admit, say, 20 students from the list, you know that you've admitted 20 students, and you know where they belong. So you don't need to start looking at this one. And then when I got to Bingham University, I also replicated the same idea there. And then because of the experience at the University of Maiduguri MIS department, the UMTH then asked me to also help in automating their payroll. They said they're having problem with payroll because of fraud, so many people being paid over time and all these things. So I assisted them in doing it. And then later, other institutions, even in Nguru and all these things, started calling us. And then, of course, we are making our small money from there. And then at the University of Maiduguri, I've succeeded in setting up the MIS department. The next vice chancellor that came said, no, there's no computer center where you can be training students, staff, and the programming languages and all this thing, because then there was no department of computer science. So that responsibility was given to me. What they did then was they had a very big building that was housing the first administrative block, very gigantic. Nothing there, they vacated it and said, we're handing it over to you. That is why I will thank the VC then, Professor J.D. Amin, did very well. He gave us the direction and said, I want you to set up a computer center, but no money. No money. So just bare place. So what I did was, well, and of course that time there was no awareness of computing was very, very minimal. So, and as God will have it, there's a colleague of ours at the University of Maiduguri that left for State Fund that time. I met him, and while discussing, I said, "Can you help us get us some money so that we can set up the ICT center?" That time, there was only one place in Maiduguri that has a VSAT then for internet. People don't even know about this thing. So, in fact, the VC and I sat down and said, "What can we do?" So, when I talked to the person, he said, "You come to Abuja." So, I told the vice chancellor, who gave me approval immediately. And before you knew it, we were given a check of 25 million that time. That was 2003. So when I gave it to him, he thought I was joking, really. So it was with that we bought VSAT, we bought tables, we bought chairs, even staff. They said all the staff, I should recruit the staff, we will not pay the staff. So we had to pay staff from the money we generate. People were coming to browse, doing the assignment, so we are generating small money and we are paying. So that was in fact, when the executive secretary came then, he was so impressed with what we did and said, "Come to Abuja and tell other universities what you've replicated in Maiduguri." And at this juncture, I need to thank the pioneer dean of the faculty, Professor McKay. He did very well. Actually, then when he first took me, in fact, with the assistance of our then registrar, Dr. Mani, actually they did a lot to have identified me then. And I remember when I first came, I said, "I'm not interested in any position. I just want to teach and go." But he said, "No, you will not just teach and go, but that your publication, you need to go on research leave." That is why we need to thank the university administration for this research leave opportunity that we have. And I think everybody should take advantage of that. When you go, make sure you publish and then use it very well. So he said, "No, you will go on research leave. You will not go away. You'll be coming to work every day. You'll be spending the time in the library and you'll be staying with me." And I didn't know that he was just preparing me for some things. I did not complain. I was coming to work, but I was not teaching. That was the strategy. And at the end of the day, I learned a lot of things from him on how to manage things. And he is somebody that gets very too hot-tempered. So I said, "Thank God I'm not that type of person. I will not take it from him." In fact, there was a time he came, I think when he came back in 2015 or so, he said, "You met so many new staff that the administration employed." He said, "How did you get to employ this staff?" I said, "Well, perseverance." Because me, by the time I go asking for, you say no, I will say, "Thank you, I'll go," and then come back again. But he doesn't have that patience. I'm not saying everybody is different, so he commended me there for being able to manage the faculty in his absence. And that was why when he left, I was rewarded with the substantive appointment as the dean of the faculty. Then, as part of my contribution to my department, I discovered that many of these students have difficulty in, how to go about developing their software and other things. We talk about the software crisis, and we say, no, these are our students, let's train them so that they too will not fall victim of those problems, so that when they go out, they will lead by example. And I'm happy to say that most of our students we've trained, they've gone abroad, they did very well, and I'm proud of them. That is why you need to bring your words here. Please send the message out, tell them to come to Base University. Do apologies to you, sir. So I was able to develop this small template here to guide them, pictorially. You have the background reading that initially, before you even think of project, go and do extensive reading first. Go and do. Then do a work plan of when you intend to start the project and when you intend to even end it. And then, of course, literature review should not be limited to one semester only. It should be from beginning up to the end. You start it and end up with the literature review. So it should be an ongoing. And I mentioned to them that any literature review you are doing should be very current. And you should not review just 5, 6, at least minimum of 25 references of last 5 years. So when you are graduating in, say, 2025, take your period from 2021 to that period. So your citation should be within that period. So I'm happy that the department has been maintaining that. We insist on doing the good quality. And then that they need to follow steps. And then the software development methodology. The one you have here is just the software life cycle. But I told them that if you are not comfortable with the software life cycle and you want to use Agile or Maris or SSADM or anyone, all you need to do is to superimpose it on the methodology here, and then you move on. Then, of course, you have to do requirements, you analyze, you design, you implement, you maintain, and then you document before you write your conclusion and make your recommendation. And then, of course, your references are very key. Make sure from the very first chapter to the last one, you pick up your citation, do it manually. Page 1, check it, and then, and of course, your appendices should be there. And then at one thing we need to do is, these days, everybody is more or less very sophisticated. These children we are having now, they are very sophisticated. We need to catch them young, because whatever may be your discipline, computing is key. You can't do without computing. So you need to catch them young. That is why in these days, even from secondary school, they are being taught on how to use computer. Even JAM now, they write exam using a computer. So, and like I mentioned, Base University is the best place to study computing. And you discover that the executive secretary of the NUC once mentioned that it is important that we lecturers and university should partner with industries. But I can assure you that we at Base, in fact, our staff, many of them are from industries, people who are having experience. If you look at it, not just in computing, but across all the departments, they are all experienced people. So I think, and the executive secretary was emphasizing that people need to, rather than going on sabbatical, going to teach in another university, he said people should go into the industry to get experience. Actually, in UK and some other advanced countries, rather than going to teach in a sister university, it is recommended. I mean, what they do in UK is people go to the industry. They go to the industry after 5 years. They go to the industry after every 5 years. And I think I know that from what Base University is doing, I think other universities should learn from this experience of involving, taking people who have the industry experience, because these students who are training, when they graduate, they will be going back to industry to work. So, and if you don't have industry experience, it will be difficult for you to impart knowledge. So I must state that in Base University, we don't just ask students to use computer and all these things. In fact, some of their exams, they write it with on their laptops. They do practically. And the assessment also, we emphasize on doing that very well. And that is why many of them, when they go abroad, they're already used to what we have taught them. And then they come out with distinction and the first class, and as the case may be. So our students, we teach them what is current also in the program. We don't teach them what is archaic, like COBOL or some things that are old. We teach them, programming languages that are current, that when they go somewhere, they can fit into the system very easily. So then, may I now ask the question, who do you think owns the software lifecycle? I'm sure by now, we all know who they should be. So may I therefore submit that the users of the software system, whether direct or indirect, are users of the system. The user is king. User is always right. Our students are always right. And then the people using the software are always right. So we need to carry them along when we should regard them as king. That is why I brought those pictures of those emirs and this, because when they speak with authority and people respect them. So the user is the king, and you and I are the user. And when you are giving inaugural lecture, it is necessary for us to make a number of recommendations. It's customary. Madam Vice Chancellor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is customary in a lecture of this nature to make recommendations. Kindly therefore permit me to propose the following. Computing as a discipline requires a lot of hands-on experience in order to produce graduates that are readily employable. The management of universities should endeavor to employ more staff with considerable industrial experience to teach. Well, at Base University, we are doing that, but we are recommending this for the larger society because we are part of the larger society. Then there is the need to provide adequate computers with licensed software, not pirated software, for use to train these students. Then the federal government of Nigeria should, as a matter of policy, extend the tertiary fund trust fund to private universities and polytechnics to cover at least research and staff development. We don't say they should give us all, but at least. Then academic staff at all levels should be trained and retrained within and outside the country where possible. Please, that's my. Then, like I mentioned earlier, in the UK, well, I'm not saying we should change the policy overnight because I'm due to go on sabbatical leave. So well, although I'm looking for a place in industry to go, if I can get one, I would prefer that. But that people should rather go into the industry, to get experience. Then introduction of a course to be known as practicum. Well, thank God for the CC Mass when the opportunity came for us to introduce some content. In the faculty, we insisted that everybody should bring courses that we involve them, using the practical, because we don't want to train theoretical students. In fact, there was a student somebody that once came to my faculty as a copper. He read computer science, let me not mention the university. All that person was able to do is just to play games on the PC. All. We must engage them very well so that they will not be like that person that will just come and play games. We've mentioned the fact that we need to have software development methods. So I'm calling upon the Computer Society of Nigeria, the IEEE, and the Computer Professional Registration Council of Nigeria, or even the NITDA or the ministry, that we need to propose a Nigerian software development method is very important, rather than using the old ones. Or if we cannot even develop our own, let us train our people on the use of the available methods. And to avoid this problem of the IPPS and what have you, we need to involve professional system analysts and people, into the think tank of software projects, so that this problem of IPPS and ASU going on strike and all these things, it will stop. Because as long as, and government is making the same mistake of bringing out one now without even involving the lecturers, nobody, or even the users in the universities. So I thought government should learn from the past mistakes. So I thank you all for coming and listening attentively. So this lecture, I want to dedicate it to someone who has done so much in my life and in the life of so many other people. I want to thank God Almighty for this lecture, dedicated to God first and foremost, and to the late Professor Mohammed Nur Al-Khali, who was the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Maiduguri. He was the former Director General of NIPS, and in fact, he was a member of the Board of Trustees of Base University at the time. And may God grant him everlasting peace where it's now. And May his soul rest in perfect peace. Actually, right from when I was 18 years old, he brought me up. And that is why the lesson we need to learn today is that religion should not matter. Tribe should not matter to anybody. He brought me up. He did not say, I'm not a Muslim. He's a Kanuri. He's a Kanuri. He took me as a son. And I felt that if we can have people like this in this country will be very, very great. So I'm very grateful to him for all he has done for me. Once more, thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Please do give him another round of applause. Certainly a product the university community in Nigeria, in Africa, and globally should be proud of. Another round of applause for Professor Peter. Madam Vice Chancellor, very distinguished academics, we've come to the point for closing remark. Permit me to invite the Chairman, Inaugural Committee, Professor Bala Mohammed, for closing remark. Please welcome him.
The Acting Vice Chancellor, the DVC present, the special guest of honor in Flower 3, or rather to Flower 3, the deans, professors, and distinguished academicians. This is a forum where sometimes we feel as if the brains are speaking to each other. The brains are cracking against knowledge. Now, the presenter actually started by taking us just a few years back, where he said his milestone started when he submitted his publications to be assessed as a professor. That was 2016 or so. But surprisingly, he took us back to 1960. He started his lecture from 1960, Software Crisis 1, 2, 3. Believe me, while he was talking about building collapse and software crisis, I became tense, hoping that there shouldn't be any brain collapse in this room. Yes, he took us through intensive knowledge. Thank you, Mr. Presenter, Professor Peter. I'm sure we have learned a lot. Upon seeing the topic, I rehearsed the topic. I went back. I wanted to go online. I felt, no, I'm wasting my time. Let me wait for him. Let him come and explain. He has done it all. He has done it all. Who owns the life? You know what? When I was first introduced to computer, that was when I left Nigeria for my PhD. I was told that never put a cup of tea beside your system. Never put a bottle of water. Never. So when I saw the person trying to put a bottle of water here, I felt, no, this man is aiming at crashing the system. Anything can happen. A fly can go first into your mouth before the water. What do? And the system is gone. We are not allowed to do that. Well, I don't need to take you much because he has taken my 5 minutes. This is where I'm looking at it. He has taken my 5 minutes. So let me not take somebody's minutes. We thank him very well. Now we know who owns the life. Yes. And I hope those important takeaways we should not forget. He mentioned what he did in my degree. He mentioned how they gave him, in those years, 25 million cash to set up a system. Oh no, I think at the end of this lecture, I'm going to write an application. Please, Prof, revive it again. Bring it back. You have applicants. With this economic downtown, you have done it well. So let's hope that our able peace VC will lead in securing maybe or convincing the management here to bring something like that so that we can all join. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I wish you God blessings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. For vote of thanks, permit me to invite the DVC administration, Dr. Saleh Atiku Dambata. Please a round of applause for him.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to have been invited to give a vote of thanks on the professorial inaugural lecture delivered by Professor Peter Ogedebe. On behalf of management of Base University, I would like to express our profound gratitude to Almighty Allah that has given us the opportunity to attend this second series professorial inaugural lecture. May I start by thanking Professor Peter Ogedebe for the wonderful lecture. Thank you, Prof, for sharing with us your valuable insight on this subject. May I also thank the Inaugural Committee who effectively devoted their time and worked hard in making this glorified lecture a success. Thank you for your patience, dedication, and enthusiasm. Lastly, I wish to thank each and everyone here present. Your presence has surely made a difference. I hope the knowledge that is obtained today will have a positive impact on all of us today. Thank you. Finally, I pray to Almighty Allah that He spares our life to witness the third inaugural lecture. Thank you once again. May Allah, may all God Almighty bless us with all His bounties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with this, we've come to the end of the inaugural lecture. Refreshment is served. We'll rise for recession in reverse order. And afterwards, guests will be able to go for other levels of refreshment. This is to say, on behalf of the University Orator, Professor Adeni, thank you very much. We rise for recession in reverse order. Madam, we should take the anthem. We'll take the Bayes University anthem before we go. If we can sing it, we'll sing it together after two. 1, 2. Bayes University, right in the city of unity. Raise your banner with pride and dignity over the hills, the land and sea, driven by excellence, hard work and diligence, and our reach is high up in the sky. Shine on, Bayes University,
ever shining as the morning sun, marching on to glory. Learn to lead and learn to live. Shine on, shine on. Bayes University. Thank you. The national anthem. Arise, O compatriot, Nigeria's call obey, to serve our fatherland in love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. We now have the recession in reverse order. Please remain where you are until the recession is completed. This one no work. This one too no work.
If you're a business owner, then animated explainer videos are the best way to capture attention.
Still not open.
You made us up, right? Let them know. Yeah. Because it's good for you to go and say hi to people so that you know that. Yeah,